here to manifest this tutorial inspired by the leader of the Guédé Noir of Haitian Voodoo. This is Baron Samedi, the ruler of the graveyard. But like much of Voodoo, he is full of duality. He embodies both the powers of death and fertility. All Voodoo saints must serve him if they desire their dead to stay safely rotting in the ground and not as zombies walking upon the earth. Although he may look like one to be feared, he is actually a very fun and mischievous guy. He is legendary for his outrageous behavior, scandalous swearing, and obscene jokes. Basically, he fucks with you, but rarely to the point of insult. He is depicted as thin and gaunt, with a face painted like a skeleton. Baron Samedi wears a top hat and drapes himself in the shades black, white, and purple, and occasionally a splash of deep blood red. He is strongest on his celebrated feast day, November 22nd, so remember to put out some spicy treats and cigars on the altar to show your appreciation. To begin my ritual, I'm priming all around my eye sockets with Too-Faced Shadow Insurance. And I already have my super pinky violet contacts in my eyeballs, which you can check out the review and coupon code in the description box. I'm clutching at the MAC paint pot in Painterly to neutralize my brow bone, and I blended it down to the crease with my bony fingers. I have the power of the Makeup Geek eyeshadow, Phantom, and I pressed that just under my eyebrow with the Sigma E55 eye shading brush. I followed the spirits and they showed me the eyeshadow strange with the Sedona Lace EB09 brush to set the rest of the paint pot. Back into that palette with a touch of limit to begin the transition area. I have Makeup Geek Petal Pusher to give the upper crease the murky mauve tone of one who's pushing up daisies. But honestly, all of these crease preparation steps were useless because of a certain shadow that fucks me every time. I communed with another Makeup Geek eyeshadow called Unexpected and deepened up the crease shape with more of a dusty purple hue. Now we have the bane of my existence, Sugar Pill Poison Plum. I conjured up the Sigma E32 Exact Blend brush to run this deep purple in a round shape through my socket. I am positively going to purchase the new formula of this magnificent eyeshadow, so I won't fall prey to its vintage formula shenanigans. As I try to blend it out with the other shades, it blends away and somehow stops any other eyeshadow from sticking to that area of the skin. Sometimes black magic goes awry, and no matter how you implore the spirits, you are doomed. Now I'm smearing on the Milani eye pencil in purple all over the mobile lid and buffing at the edges with the Exact Blend brush. I was drawn towards the darkness to grab some more of the putrefied and poisoned purple on that dense brush, so I can scrub at the harsh line. However, since voodoo is not an exact science, the spirits don't always obey you. I then went to my friends on the other side and dug into the eyeshadow urban with the Smith 253 brush to slap the color of my existence all over the mobile lid. I also use my fingertip for maximum power and spiritual energy. I slashed back to the fluffy blending brush to flesh out a softer edge in the crease. However, due to the previous Poison Plum debacle, nothing was holding itself in the crease. In place of dragon blood sticks, I grasped for Unexpected again and ran it through the crease. I called forth the repugnant NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Cottage Cheese to slide that over my tear duct as a base for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Moonchild Highlighter in Purple Horseshoe. I unveiled the Physicians Formula eyeliner pen to define the eye with a delicate line. I scrambled into the mist to pluck up the perfect purple pencil again and drag it along my lower lash line. Then I smudged it out with a cotton bud. I went about digging underground to find Makeup Geek eyeshadow in Corrupt, and I buffed that along my upper lash line with the Real Techniques detail brush. I went over the edge for a soft, thick line that fades into the lid. Using the edge of that sharp arrow brush, I splashed back into the rich, supernatural purple to apply over the lower lid. To bring that musky tone underneath the eye, I jumped into Unexpected with the EB09. I softened the lower lid with some Strange. I continued my luck with Purple Horseshoe. I floated along my under-eye bags to highlight them and kept the creepy look going into the inner crease. Spreading my fingers in the earth, I found this Inglot Matte Gel Eyeliner in number 77, which I applied along my waterline and smudged into my lashes with a pointed cotton bud. And I solidified that darkness by running some corrupt matte black eyeshadow around the eye. Now I'm moving on to the more spooky features, beginning by following my own ocular bone structure, sketching it in with a light brown eyeshadow. I enlarged the sockets to encapsulate my eyebrows so I wouldn't have to conceal them, and I modified the shape to have more interesting angles. I requested an audience with the Makeup Forever Flash Palette, and I scooped out the black cream color. To begin the outline, I rejigged the shape as I went along, removing the cream with a cotton bud and my fingertip, then adding in more wicked points and strange curves with the black cream to make this voodoo skull mask unique. I thickened up the lines and dragged the black product inwards, leaving room to blend the product later. At this point, I'm keeping the black inside the shapes. I picked up the Sigma E21 short shader brush to flick the black in towards the eye makeup, using short strokes to keep control on the mysterious forces, until I have a soft edge on the black, but still some skin tone around the eyeshadow. I scrambled back to the matte corrupt shadow and patted that over the black base with a flat paddle brush to make the edge as black as the afterlife. I invoked that smudge brush again to pull the black shadow inwards to get a soft fluffy edge. I took the blending brush to fade the skull socket in towards the beauty makeup. I even brought in some unexpected shadow to draw in some dusty purple tones at the perimeter. And then I exacerbated the inner socket punch of highlight with more purple horseshoe on that pencil brush. To yield an experience that ties body and soul together, I brought forth Makeup Geek Stealth on that angled brush to sketch out the rest of the skull mask, again following my own skeletal structure, and created a fiendish curve from the cheekbone down to the corners of the mouth, sort of matching up with my teeth. I also shaped the nose cavity with added angles and pointy shapes. I kind of did most of this look ass backwards. I was making it up as I went along. Anyways, I primed the skin outside the skull and applied my usual foundation to neutralize the area that is meant to be a natural skin tone. I had left a space around the edges of the mask to show the duality of the spirit world. I set the foundation with translucent powder so I could smoothly commune with the Makeup Geek shadow in Wisteria, running it along the hollows of my cheeks with the Real Techniques contour brush, creating a very angular shape flowing down towards the jawline, and also applying some shadow at the temples and corners of the forehead. I have the Colourpop Super Shock cheek in Rain, thus bringing out the colours of the Lord of the Dead, and also giving a cool-toned, deceased quality to the face. I'm drawing on the essence of the cool grey shadow Stealth to increase the sunken-in look of the backs of the cheekbones, also adding it to the edge of the face. So I don't lose the purple hue, I went back to the lilac shade Wisteria and layered that heavily over the top. I tweaked a bit more stealth in there and buffed it out with my powder brush and the dark purple blush. It doesn't matter if you go over your skull outline, because I'm using a makeup wipe to clear out that inner section. I once more called upon the Makeup Forever Flash Palette and enticed the white cream onto my skin with this large synthetic eyeshadow brush. I made sure it was opaque and no longer sticky with a layer of matte white Sugar Pill Taco eyeshadow. And I used a smaller fluffy eyeshadow brush for the hard to reach places. Then I modified the inner points, adding more sharpness with asymmetrical peaks on either side before picking up the small pointed crease brush to muck up and blur out the edges of the socket holes. I didn't add any product on the brush, I'm just moving around the eyeshadow that's already laid down. I also ran that brush on the forehead following the shape of the socket holes, and making sure to buff it out with the setting brushes so the spirits don't overpower me yet. I plunged into more corrupt black eyeshadow and dusted off the excess before shading in the cheekbones, leaving a space between the ridge of the skull and the shadow. I also did the same to the top of the skull, always going back to the fluffy brushes that I set my face with to keep everything hazy and mysterious, like the smoke rising up from the gifted cigars I smoke. I transmogrified the nose into a deep cavity with the black cream, creating a unique shape with many points and severe angles. I set that area with the matte black eyeshadow to keep it where I want it. I kept the general shape I created and used that pointy brush to get a smoky flow from the dark orifice out into the white of the skull. I worked on the ocular area again dragging the peaks higher and really going nuts with the edges. I summoned the illusion of teeth with more black eyeshadow, softly shaded upwards from the top lip, only vaguely matching it up with my natural teeth and mainly fitting it in with the contours of my lip. I dragged my fingers through the earth, back to unexpected, so I could soften those lines and blend them into the base. I clawed at the fluffy brush to thrash in some dirty purple tones into the skull shading in an uneven and patchy manner, overlapping the black shading for a mottled, erratic appearance. I sourced the underworld again for the Sigma E32 Exact Blend brush to slide unexpected around the rim of the skull to give it a shadow separating it from the skin tone, and so it looks like it's kind of hovering above. I used the larger fluffy brushes to get a good gradient into the skin tone, also tossing in some of the Inglot number 113R into the mix around the mandible and forehead sections. I sensed that I lost some of the lighter purple in the contours of the face, so I strengthened that up with the Real Techniques brush. To add more of a violet tint and buff in the edges of the skull, I weaved in some wisteria with the fluffy eyeshadow brush. I conjured more of that lilac around the smudged out cavernous spaces, splotching on some of the eyeshadow on various chunks, and going back with the large fluffy brush to fuzz out the scraps that get too uppity as I go along. I made sure to follow that through with more attention to the smudges on the skull shading for an overall violet hint. I gave the teeth the same raucous treatment, but this time using the small pointy brush. I did a pass with the setting brush around the edges and increased that earthen appeal with more unexpected, enlarging the splotched organic effect. Like singing a song heard in a dream, I floated over the shading to increase the power of the spirits to my liking. Instead of whipping out the brimstone or the five-fingered grass, I packed on more white eyeshadow to keep the white sections bright with highlight and softly transitioning into the skull. I curled my eyelashes to prepare them for a coat of L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara on the top and bottom lashes. I primed my lips with MAC Prep and Prime Lip Base. And I continued the beauty portion with NYX Slim Lip Liner in Purple Rain to outline the lips. Now I possess the glorious Pretty Zombie Cosmetics 3 Witches Liquid Lipstick to apply over my lips for a brilliant deep purple shade. This is probably one of my favorite purple lipsticks ever, and it complements this look so well. The final touch is this lavish pair of sugar pill eyelashes called Majestic, which are a sublime spiderweb design with purple strokes throughout that I've been saving for a look like this. And I'm finally finished with this thoroughly thrilling and delectably disruptive depiction of this Loire. And so the last wild ride of the soul passing into the afterlife will be met by flashy debauchery and the scent of cheap tobacco and rum spiced with habanero peppers. Baron Samedi spends most of his time in the invisible realm of spirits, but maybe you will find him chilling out in a dark, misty cemetery, or chasing after fleshy live women when his wife Mama Brigitte isn't looking. He is especially powerful against a hex that renders someone near death, so if the voodoo saints offer him the mercurial gifts he desires, and he thinks it's worthwhile, he won't dig the victim's grave, thus they will not die. I wore this makeup all night. It stayed on well, but I think a setting spray over the top will help it last through frolicking in the underworld. Check out my Halloween playlist in the card and description box for more spooky videos and costume ideas. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this mischievous makeup tutorial inspired by the rude, lewd, crude dude Baron Samedi, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Also check out my band and podcast on iTunes. And if you wish to send me a small gift of cheap tobacco and hard liquor, I have my PO box in the description box.